morning, everyone, and welcome to the Pre-Port. I'm John Adarola, and our headline story today is going to be briefly mocking Marjorie Greene for thinking that her job is not to be a congresswoman. It's easy for her to be confused about that. She's never actually functioned as one. But instead to tell all of you women to stop being sluts, while simultaneously absolving men of any responsibility for anything that they do. It's going to be fun. We're going to read it in a little bit, but we have some quick little news to get to. I want to start off, though, with something else that is fun, very briefly. So we have CPAC. We have, oh, sorry, I apologize. This is the National Meeting of Radio Broadcasters that are Christian. So they're doing their little gathering or whatever, which they can do. Donald Trump spoke at it. In fact, we're going to have some of the video from that on the show later on today. But the issue for him was that Donald Trump being there was not necessarily the ratings draw that he expected. And so, just keeping it real, this is what the room looked like in anticipation of it. Okay, so you have a lot of seats there that are not filled. Not enough people showed. I don't know, maybe people were worried about the COVID spike. I'm kind of doubting it in this specific context, but that looks really bad. And I don't just mean it looks bad, you know, if you're observing the event. If you're Donald Trump and you go and speak and the room is mostly full of empty chairs, it's going to feel bad. But don't worry, they solved it. They just got rid of the chairs. And now, instead, rather than Donald Trump giving a speech to a room that's like half filled with empty chairs, instead, he gives a speech to a room that is half filled. Like of anything. Is that better? I don't know. Look, I'm not going to get down on Donald Trump too much for this. It's not technically one of his rallies. It is possible that maybe the NRB did a bad job of advertising it or something. But it's just funny because obviously he loves to stress how big of a ratings draw he is and how, you know, anything that he's involved in is going to be huge. Like, if Donald Trump doesn't draw people to your like media Christian thing, I don't know who would at this point. Again, maybe they're just concerned about COVID. Again, I sort of doubt it. Anyway, really fast, I saw Anthony McLennan says, I sent that prediction about a Roxanne Perez heel turn before I watched this week's. Now I'm sure. I didn't see that this week, so I don't know if that is a thing that already happened. Okay, I'm gonna check in later today. Super fast little news updates for you before we get back to the fun. So, the Sandy Hook families who have been trying to... Jenna, I do have to look at that. It has been very difficult with work and with the baby. I have not been doing social media much, including Discord recently. But for some time now, the Sandy Hook families have been trying to get this money that has already been ruled that Alex Jones has to give to them. So, $1.5 billion is a lot of money. It's actually... very significant, even in comparison to what Donald Trump owes. It's about 3 of his civil fraud lawsuits. But the issue is that just because they were told that they're supposed to get that money doesn't mean that they are getting it or that they're getting it expeditiously. So Alex Jones proposed that over the course of 10 years, he'll pay $5 million of the $1.5 billion. That was the proposal that he made to them. And the idea is, well, so why would they take this? Well, if they think that he is going to be able to evade ever having to pay them anything, then maybe any money actually being guaranteed would be good. Well, bad news for Alex Jones. They've decided to vote that they are going to pursue liquidation of his assets. That includes vehicles, property, things like that. They're going to try to have that be sold off. Apparently, there's going to be a hearing next month where a plan for the liquidation will happen. Now, remember that Alex Jones did a lot of tricky-pizzicky legal stuff to pretend that a bunch of his money and assets are not his. So we're going to see if that's successful. But obviously, he has horrifically injured these families for many, many years. I really hope that they get a significant chunk of that money. Now, here is a story that I don't know if this is the sort of thing that stands out to you. It certainly stands out to me, but it's news that broke yesterday, I think. Vice Media is going to stop publishing on its website and lay off hundreds of people. So, effectively, I guess at least for now, that's the end of their, like, website-based news division. Vice, which is, I mean, obviously that is not the only thing that is Vice. There are multiple components of it, but it was like really big and considered very popular. And look, I go to Vice, their website, for news quite often. There's a lot of interesting stories. They cover some sorts of stories that not a lot of other outlets do, but it's just a reminder of how absolutely horrible the environment is for news. A bunch of, like, BuzzFeed News, obviously, massive layoffs. You're seeing it all over traditional news, newspapers, and things like that. But Vice as well. They're going to be, and they're going to lay off literally hundreds of people as a result of that. And so, this is something that we've definitely been seeing. I think I talked about this on a pre-port a few weeks ago or last month, and I was saying, you know, when we talk about how we rely on our members because you never know what's going to happen with the different platforms we publish on, we're not exaggerating. We really do rely on our members, and thankfully, we have been able to rely on our members for many years. Whether you're a member through tyt.com, you subscribe on Twitch, or maybe I see many of you are members here on the YouTube channel. Now, obviously, like, from the point of view of a person signing up for membership, they're almost certainly doing that because they like the perks that come with it. And there are many perks, including some that we are working on right now. But from our point of view, it is very, very helpful to help avoid this sort of dark future for us. And TYT has obviously survived past many other shows and platforms and news divisions being utterly liquidated. So that's depressing. Now, as another sort of example of how it is tough times for news, I saw this report on Media. Let me see if I can bring this up. So, right-wing news sites saw their traffic plummet by the beginning of this year compared to 2020. Breitbart was down 87%. And they are not alone in that. A bunch of these webs, some of them were even worse. They listed a whole bunch of them, from Fox all the way down to Washington Free Beacon, all that stuff. And Fox was only down like 20%. The only one of all of these news sites, Daily Wire, Daily whatever, all the BS, the only one that was up, can you guess? There's some reason why you might be able to guess. Of all these right-wing sites, which one is performing better than it was in 2020? And actually, the reason that it's performing better actually kind of has to do with 2020. Anybody? No, it's not Fox. Fox is down about 20%. Not as bad as some of the others, but still down. It is not Daily Wire. Daily Wire is down big. No, TYT is not a right-wing news site. Ouch, how dare you. Cam S gets it. It is Newsmax. So Newsmax, I guess, is up because they weren't that big prior to 2020, so they had room to grow, and they were able to grab some of the Fox audience, but they were actually up. And by the way, let me be very clear about this. YouTube views, like for TDR, 2020 is still the best that we ever did. The lead up to the election is the most views that we were ever getting. We've had some other good periods too, and I look forward to this year. But it ain't 87% down. God damn. And so I don't know, from their point of view, like, they must be really desperate for Donald Trump to get back in office, because apparently that's when they do well. But very rough times. Okay, I apologize. I could talk about this media stuff for a really long time. There's some other news I want to talk about. I just want to mention this. It's the sort of thing that, like, I really wish that I could do a full video on, but I worry that nobody else cares but me. Study shows that propaganda online generated via AI, whether, text, images, deepfake videos, and all that, is apparently just as persuasive to the people who see it as traditional propaganda. Stuff that is created by humans, that is more time intensive and all that. You can just skate through that. Just AI generate it, and you can manipulate people. So that's terrifying. Love to see that. I want to give an update on a story that we've talked about the Crown Act many times on the channel. And in fact, this particular instance where a student, Daryl George in Texas, was found to have been in violation of hair policies and was disciplined as a result of that. Well, the interesting thing here is that Texas actually has a version of the Crown Act, which is supposed to stop discrimination based on hairstyle, which is often an incredibly racist form of discrimination, as so many others are. A judge reviewed it and has found that him being disciplined for his hair does not violate the Crown Act, which the only thing it is supposed to do is stop discrimination based on hair. And the reason they say is, no. He is not being discriminated because he has locks. No, 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 no. He's being discriminated against in this case because his hair is too long, because his hair could go down a certain length. It isn't going down that length, and that is the most amazing fact of this. It's up. It's up. It just, if it wasn't up, it would be longer, and so you can be disciplined for that. How is that not hair discrimination? It literally is not even violating the length thing. And obviously, you cannot say that it's length, not style, when some styles are the whole point of them is that they're long. That's how hairstyles work. Some of them are short, some of them are long. But it isn't even violating that. This is such an amazingly stupid story. And just a reminder that in the same way that we need to accept that the people who present news are not special necessarily, and I include myself. Politicians are not special, better people. Judges are not exceptional people. They're just not. They're freaking biased. And I have another example of that that'll be coming up on the show later on today. It has to do with religion. I'm gonna go with the longest buzz cut. You inspired me. I've got a really, really short butt length hair. I wanted butt length hair, and I have it, but a short version of it. Anyway, Wilbros, thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Okay, we're cruising towards our main story. In fact, I think we're going to jump into it in just a sec, but it's 2,500 of you here, and only 850 of you have hit the like button. So, I don't know, maybe instead of getting to the Marjorie Greene thing, I'll just tell you about this Laura Trump thing, and then maybe that'll be it. Since we haven't gotten to 1,000 likes, maybe that'll be it. So, Laura Trump did a speech at CPAC, and it's amazing. It is so thoroughly contradictory and hypocritical and ridiculous. Just on a base level, she claims that they make their kids recite the Pledge of Allegiance before bed. Now, I cannot say for sure that they're lying about that. I can only say that I hope they're lying about that because that seems ridiculous. Literally, like, before little Jimmy can get tucked into bed, he has to stand and recite this government propaganda. That seems amazing to me. Now, that's my perspective. Now, you could say it's perfectly acceptable to have your kids do the Pledge of Allegiance, and of course, parents can do whatever they want. What you cannot do is say that you force your kids to say the Pledge of Allegiance before bed every night, and then also say the left's goal is to indoctrinate and destroy our next generation. It's literal indoctrination. It's you forcing them to recite a magic spell that you think is going to change their brain. That's literally the only reason you do it, is to force them to think a particular way, and you think this is a shortcut to doing that. Okay, but there's other amazing stuff here too. So, there's 2 paragraphs, okay, and the last line of the second paragraph is, I will never raise her for 1 second on the poison and lie of identity politics. So, talking about her daughter, it's not going to be about identity politics. But as I said, that is the last line of the second paragraph. Here are the actual paragraphs. I want my son to be proud of who he is. I want him to know that it's okay to be a patriot. It's okay to love God, to be a Christian. And it's okay to be a strong, masculine man. A cis man who presents in a traditional fashion, an identity. I want my daughter to always feel safe here in America wherever she goes. I want her to play sports on an equal footing with her peers, which means competing against other biological girls. And I want her to understand that in the United States of America, we get ahead and succeed based on merit and merit alone, never identity politics. So I'm not going to raise her identity politics, except all of those identity politics I just listed. And literally, that is the only reason any of you are here. Goes on to then talk about critical race theory, about gender, just identity politics, identity politics, identity politics, identity politics. Oh, but I'm not. We don't do identity politics, except literally everything we do is a smokescreen for the economic policies that we actually want. So utterly hypocritical. Goes on to say, by the way, that children are a clean slate. Shame on anyone who tries to steal that from them. Fuck you, Laura Trump. Fuck you for trying and hopefully failing to ruin your children by trying to instill your small-mindedness, bigotry, internalized misogyny, racism, homophobia in your kids. They are fucking clean slates, and you're trying to ruin it. You're trying to scrawl all over it, not even in marker, with a fucking blade, all of your hatreds and failings. Fucking monsters. Anyway, we're going to lighten things up for just a minute. Marjorie Greene had a tweet, and I want to read part of it to you. It says, "This might be an unpopular opinion and could hurt some feelings. There are many conservative Christian women who are influencers or leaders that are selling themselves short and not being good women models by conforming to the world's sexualization of women. If you are conservative and a Christian, you know you don't have to express yourself in sexual ways, and you know you are attractive by dressing nice and feminine, and you can be beautiful and modest at the same time. Men will respect you more and think of you much more highly than just a sexual object for gratification. It's also good to not tempt your Christian brothers and cause them to stumble." So, don't try to conform to the sexualization of women. This idea that they have to be beautiful. Don't do that. Instead, dress modestly but still beautiful. So, still tantalize, but in this way that I find to be acceptable. I find to be modest or whatever. I just want to briefly jump in. If you're a woman, you know how you should dress however the fuck you want to, because you're a human being and you can put whatever clothes on your body you want. If you want to sexualize yourself or reveal your body or whatever, you fucking do that. You do that, and you shouldn't be judged. In the same way that conservative women should not be judged for this. In the same way that Marjorie Greene should not be judged for this. Oh, Marjorie Greene, you don't think we know what you're doing with your little workout videos? You're not trying to show yourself off in yoga pants or whatever? That's not what you're trying to do at all. By the way, she can do that. She can totally do that. She's as free as anyone. But look at her doing that and then trying to make everyone else feel bad about it. And I don't know, maybe this is a shot at Lauren Boebert. I don't know. But what I do know, and the reason I want to talk about this, is less about her being like, women should always hide. No, you shouldn't be able to see any of her skin. You shouldn't see her hair, whatever. It's that she says women shouldn't do that, and don't tempt your brothers and cause them to stumble. You see, women do things, and when they do things, they're sinful. Men just have things done to them. Them stumbling is carrying a whole lot of fucking water there. How are they stumbling? Are they engaging in premarital sex? Are they pursuing these women? Are they catcalling these women? Are they sexually harassing, sexually assaulting these women? How much are you encapsulating under the cowardly term stumble here? But it does absolve them of all responsibility and puts it all on the women. If the women act like sluts, then the brothers will stumble and maybe stuff happens at that point. Don't do that. Don't do that. Even if I sometimes do that, don't you do that. It's fucking ridiculous on their side. Anyway, that is unfortunately all the time we have. Thank you, everyone, for being here for the pre-show. We have so much to come in the full show. Great garbage people and a whole lot more. So, hope to see you there. Thank you, everyone, especially the little less than half of you hit the like button. The rest of you remain dead to me. But thank you to the 1,500 who hit the like button. And I'll see all of you soon.